right, guys, welcome back to another video. We have an interesting one here, something that we talked a lot about for about a year or so, and that has to do with the FTC versus Xbox in regards to the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. It is back in the news, and we haven't done a video on this in a relatively long time because it was nothing really to talk about. The FTC lost. The deal went through. Game Pass is getting Call of Duty Black Ops 6 day one into Game Pass. Xbox has all of those studios and IPs, but the FTC is still out there trying to get a win. They're still appealing this decision, and the announcement we got last week about the Xbox Game Pass price increases as well as the changes to the Xbox Game Pass tiers has allowed them to write a letter saying that Microsoft is degrading Xbox Game Pass, specifically with Game Pass Standard, and again, of course, the price increases. So there's two letters I want to read. There's the letter from the FTC to the Court of Appeals, and then there is Microsoft's actual response to that letter that the FTC wrote. So we will start off here, and we will start with the FTC's letter and just exactly what they are saying. I'll just give you my thoughts and everything like we did many times as this deal was going through that entire process and the craziness of all of that. So this is written on July 18th. And again, from the FTC saying, "Dear Ms. Dwyer, the Federal Trade Commission writes to alert the court to Microsoft's announced price increases in the multi-game subscription and cloud gaming markets." And if you remember back when the deal was trying to go through, cloud gaming was the main thing that they were saying could give Xbox just such a huge competitive advantage that they would be able to foreclose their competitors and all of this types of things. And we saw all the concessions that Xbox did make for cloud gaming. Continues here and say, which the district court found relevant to the merger analysis, and then they point to a document, and I'm guessing that's kind of everything that they were going back and forth with before the deal did get approved. So Microsoft is raising the price for its Game Pass Ultimate product from $16.99 a month to $19.99 a month, a 17% year-over-year increase. Additionally, Microsoft is discontinuing its $10.99 a month console Game Pass product. Users of that product must pay 81% more to switch to Game Pass Ultimate. For consumers that are willing to pay the 81% more, Microsoft is introducing a degraded product, Game Pass Standard, at $14.99 a month. This product costs 36% more than console Game Pass and withholds day one releases. Product degradation, removing the most valuable games from Microsoft's new service combined with price increases for existing users, is exactly the sort of consumer harm from the merger the FTC has alleged. So they're claiming here, because of obviously the price increase and the changes to the Game Pass tiers, they have degraded the entire Game Pass product specifically for the console Game Pass users. And I'll be completely honest here. When it comes to Xbox Game Pass for console, if that was the only thing that you were subscribed to, all you cared about was playing single player experiences of games in that service, you could obviously play free to play multiplayer games, but you didn't have access to multiplayer, and you were getting all of the day one Xbox Game Pass games, jumping over to Game Pass Standard or jumping over to Ultimate is one of two things. The Game Pass Standard, you are getting a shittier product, but you are also getting online access. Game Pass Ultimate, you're paying more money, like $10 more a month, so it ends up being a decent amount of more for the entire year that you're going to have to pay, which is a shitty change for people who were subscribed only to Xbox Game Pass console. So I can kind of see that argument, but at the same time, they are just kind of withholding the fact that Game Pass Ultimate at $20 a month gives you so much more. It's not just a price increase to something that you are getting the exact same product that you were getting for Xbox Game Pass console. And then Game Pass Standard, if you did go to Game Pass Standard, you will get those day one games sometime in the future. So they're not day one, but you'll get the first party Xbox games sometime in the future. And you're also getting online access. So Game Pass for console, for the people that were subscribed to that only to play those first party single player offline games. Yeah, that is kind of a shitty thing that is happening here. And I can see that argument that the FTC is trying to push forward. But at the same time, Xbox can come to many different reasons as to why they did raise the prices. And I mean, not say it's because of the ABK acquisition. They could literally say it's because of the development costs and many other things that they could use as a reason. Not that I accept that or not that I'm for that, but I don't think the FTC really has a great argument here for the degradation of Xbox Game Pass. And on top of that, there's more games coming in. There's more first-party games coming into the service with all the ABK stuff. They say Microsoft's price increases and product degradation combined with Microsoft's reduced investments in output and product quality via employee layoffs. They say, see the FTC's February 7th, 2024 letter are all the hallmarks of a firm exercising market power post-merger. And then they continue here and say that vertical mergers can create harms beyond higher prices for consumers, including decreased product quality and reduced innovation. And importantly, Microsoft's actions are inconsistent with Microsoft's representations below. Microsoft's price increases coincide with adding Call of Duty to Game Pass's most expensive tier, and discontinuing the console tier will happen shortly before the release of Call of Duty's newest game. Below, Microsoft promised that the acquisition would benefit consumers by making Call of Duty available on Microsoft Game Pass on the day it is released on console, with no price increase for the service based on the acquisition. And I think that is the key thing in all of this. And as I mentioned, not that I think this is okay, but they could easily just come up with 10 different reasons as to why the price increase that does not have to do with the acquisition, especially as you are looking at the current video game market. And they even mentioned layoffs, but layoffs are happening across the entire industry. You're seeing a complete change in everything. So they can come up with many different reasons why they raise the prices, and they would be able to, I think, to get away with it. And the FTC, I don't think, has a real big position here in this appeal. They say Microsoft's post-merger actions thus vindicate the congressional design of preliminary halting mergers to fully evaluate their likely competitive effects and judicial skepticism of promises inconsistent with a firm's economic incentives. So that's a letter. It's a shorter letter, basically just saying they raised the prices, they changed the tiers, they made a degraded product for one subsection of the Game Pass subscribers, which is the console Game Pass subscribers. And this is why they were trying to block this deal and why this decision should be reversed. Now, Microsoft responds here, and here is what Microsoft says. This is their letter. Again, not too long, but it says here, Dear Ms. Dwyer, the FTC's Rule 28 letter presents a misleading, extra record account of the facts and is a continuation of the agency's attempt to reinvent the case on appeal. Earlier this month, Microsoft announced changes to its gaming subscription service, Game Pass, to provide consumers valuable options at different price points. Microsoft is offering a new service tier, the Game Pass Standard, which offers access to hundreds of back catalog games and multiplayer functionality for $14.99 a month. So that's what they are going to focus on. I haven't read this letter before actually recording this video, but that's kind of what I was expecting them to say, which is that multiplayer functionality. Because if you had only signed up to console Game Pass, you would also have to pay an additional fee to get Game Pass Core, which would make you be paying, I believe, even more than $14.99 a month for the same services that are all within Standard, minus, of course, the day one games, which will be coming at, I guess, a later date. We don't know exactly how long that time span is going to be, but we have heard that it may be on like a case-by-case basis for each game. They continue and say, it is wrong to call this a degraded version of the discontinued Game Pass for console offering. That discontinued product did not offer multiplayer functionality, which had to be purchased separately for an additional $9.99 a month, making the total cost of $20.98 a month. So there you go, $20. So they're saying you're paying $5 more previously if you want a multiplayer functionality, but you can easily argue against that and say that people subscribing to Game Pass for console did not care about the multiplayer functionality. All they cared about were those day one first party Xbox games. And I would assume that most people who are only on Game Pass for console, that's all they cared about. They probably didn't play too many multiplayer games that weren't free to play, because you don't have to subscribe to the multiplayer service to play the free to play games online. They say, well, Game Pass's ultimate price will increase from $16.99 to $19.99 a month. The service will offer more value through many new games available day and date. Among them is the upcoming release of Call of Duty, which has never before been available on a subscription day and date. And that's absolutely fair. I think the increase from $16.99 to $19.99 a month for Game Pass Ultimate is, I mean, justified in a way with all the first party games that they are going to be putting on there from ABK. And again, I always have to reiterate that I don't want price raises. I'm not for it. But to me, that price raise from $16.99 to $19.99 makes complete sense. And I still see the huge value in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with more games coming day and date to that service. So that's going to be an easy argument for them. But again, it is the console Game Pass argument that I would say the FTC may have a point here. Not that I think it's going to help them or make them win this appeal, but they may have a point. They say the FTC barely mentioned subscription at trial, instead focusing on the theory that Microsoft could withhold Call of Duty from Sony's console, which obviously they didn't. The district court correctly rejected that theory, which is now further eroded by Microsoft and Sony's 10-year agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, a contract Sony was thrilled to enter, of course, because it's one of their most top-selling games every single year, and they make a ton of money off it. While the FTC has now tried to shift focus to its alleged subscription market, its letter does not map onto its arguments below, setting aside that it is common for businesses to change these service offerings over time. The FTC's case in all of its alleged markets has always been premised on vertical foreclosure, that Microsoft will withhold Call of Duty from rivals and therefore harm competition. I think the key thing in that sentence is they do say it's common for businesses to change service offerings over time. And if you're Microsoft, I mean, you have the best lawyers in the world. It's going to be so easy for them to argue the reasonings why they changed the Game Pass, even though it was shortly after the ABK acquisition closed. It's so easy to come up with many different reasons why they changed the prices, why they changed the tiers, the expanding, evolving gaming market, especially with everything that is happening in the gaming market. You're seeing so many different changes from different companies. It's going to be very easy for them, I think, to get around that. But who knows? I could be completely wrong. That's just my thoughts on that side of things. They also say here, but even in the alleged subscription market, Call of Duty is not being withheld from anyone who wants it. And there remains no evidence anywhere of harm to competition. Sony's subscription service continues to thrive, even as they put a few new games into their subscription day and date, unlike Microsoft. Yeah, they put barely any new first-party games day and date, if any. I can't think of one on the top of my head. The transaction thus continues to benefit competition and consumers, exactly what the district court correctly found. So there you have it. The main argument here that is being looked at, I think that, Game Pass Ultimate subscription price increase, I don't think that has any grounds. The main thing here will be that console Game Pass subscription for the gamers that were paying $10.99 a month. We're getting day and date games, and now that has gone away. They either pay $14.99 a month for Game Pass Standard, or they upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate, whereas Game Pass Ultimate, I think, is worth the upgrade, and it gives so much more value than Game Pass Standard. Game Pass Standard would technically be cheaper than if you were to sign up to console and then want the multiplayer service added in, and they're saying that multiplayer service for Game Pass Standard is the reasoning why it is integrated, which I kind of disagree with, because I don't think many people who are on Xbox Game Pass for console cared about the multiplayer side of things. But that's interesting. We got some more FTC versus Xbox stuff, and maybe we'll have some responses to this and things to go over, and we will definitely do that. But I'm going to end the video there. So if you did enjoy this video, you did enjoy this content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.